Does procrastination have anything to do with intelligence, and how can we think ourselves more productive? Here's the thing. You really want to have a creative life, that you're living on your own terms and you're doing the things the way that you want, but you keep procrastinating. I totally get it. It can be super, super frustrating, especially when we think that we shouldn't. Like, we're thinking, I shouldn't be doing this, or we're thinking, like, I must be getting down to my work, and we're doing all of this thinking, but it's absolutely not helping. And that can basically lead us to get even more frustrated and really have this experience of like really being powerless, because we know we should be doing better, and yet knowing that we should be doing better isn't making things better. And so we can get into this weird place where we're like, it doesn't seem to be to do with intelligence, and yet surely I can use my mind in some way. And how can I use my mind to make sure that I stop procrastinating and to make sure that I'm starting to be more productive? So that's really what we're going to explore in the video today. I'm going to take you through an analogy that I find really useful, my clients find it really useful, and really give you a sense of like what's actually going on. Like, how can we use our minds to think ourselves in a more productive way, and how can we, access that inner intelligence and stop procrastinating? Okay. So the first thing is to imagine a maze. I really like working with this analogy. So imagine that you're in a maze and you're a little bit lost, and you're trying to find your way through the maze, and you have this sense of where you'd like to get to, i.e. you have a sense that there's an exit, and you don't know the exact route, but you sense there's an exit and you're trying to find your way there. So procrastination is very much like this maze. We have a sense of this place of productivity that we want to get to. We have a sense of this prize. Often the moment in the maze is like we come to the place where there's like this sort of prize exit, or you get to the center of the maze and like you're the first one who's got there. So we have this sense of how we want things to be, how our day or our working life would look like if we weren't procrastinating, but we just don't know how to get there. We keep turning left, we keep coming to dead ends, we keep retracing our steps, we keep procrastinating. So the maze and struggling with procrastination is very much the same thing. We're kind of stuck in this network. We keep hitting dead ends, we keep retracing our steps, but we're not getting to the prize. We're not getting to that place of productivity. We're not finding the exit from this really boring practice of wasting our time or putting things off. So we have a sense there's another way, right? Like when we're procrastinating, we kind of have a sense of like, like I know what it is I should be doing, or I know it doesn't have to be like this. I know maybe other people are more productive. So we have a sense that there's another way. Just as like when we're in the maze, we have a sense that there is a way out. And so we want to really get to a place where that sense of the exit or that sense of productivity is actually helping us rather than making us feel frustrated and powerless, like I explained at the start of the video. So we need to have a sense that that prize doesn't just exist, but is available to us, rather than a sense of that prize, but like, I don't know how to get there, like I don't know the route, and so I'm just going to keep procrastinating. So how do we make it different? So the first key to understand is that it is about knowing the way. Like when you're in the maze and you're getting lost and you're like, oh my God, I've been to this same dead end. I've got to this same dead end like 20 times already. The reason that isn't because there's anything wrong with you, isn't because you're not clever enough. It's simply because you don't know the way. And so you're in the maze, you're trying to figure out the way, but you're trying to figure it out not knowing the way. And it's the same with procrastination. You're stuck in the procrastination because you don't know the way out. And you're trying to find the way out by trying to stop procrastinating. But if you don't know how to stop procrastinating, trying to stop procrastinating is just going to take you deeper into the maze. It's going to take you to that same dead end. I'm trying to stop procrastinating, but because I don't know how to stop, I'm just continuing to procrastinate. So the trick is to do it differently. Now, whether this is the first time you've watched any of my content or whether you're familiar with this channel, you will know that I'm all about teaching people how to use their brain differently. Because if we keep using our brain in exactly the same way, we're going to get the same results. So if you keep trying to deal with procrastination in exactly the same way, you're going to keep procrastinating. So we want to do it differently. We want to be in the maze, finding that exit, but in a different way. So how do we do that? Let me take you through the exercise. So the first thing to do is to get really clear about how you're currently using your brain. First step. We gather information, we really take that inventory, if you like. So how have you been using your brain when it comes to procrastination? How have you been in the maze, and how have you been trying to find your way out of the maze? So I find it really useful to journal on this, but again, you can just take a moment now as you're watching the video, like really start to get clear about some of those dead ends that you keep coming across, some of those turns that you keep making, those stretches of the maze that seem very familiar that you keep walking up and down. Like, what's your particular flavor of procrastination? What does your maze look like? So you're really getting clear of what it's like to be in the maze, what you do when you find yourself trapped or stuck or unable to get out of the maze. It might be things that you say to yourself. Are you giving yourself a hard time? Is that what your maze looks like? You're procrastinating and you're beating yourself up for procrastinating, but you keep procrastinating. So you want to get clear on everything. You want to take as much inventory as you can. You want to really develop all the self-awareness that's available to you to develop in this area. So you know what it's like in the maze. You know what it's like when you're procrastinating. Some of the things you do, some of the ways that you feel, some of the things that you tell yourself, all of those habits. Next, you imagine it differently. So here's where we start to use the brain differently. So the second step is you imagine yourself outside of the maze. So there's a version of you in a maze going round and round in circles. Now imagine the version of you outside of the maze, right by the exit. That version of you is free, is clear. So imagine yourself outside of the habit of procrastination. So you're getting to things when you say you're going to get to them. Your work time is really productive. You're taking less time on projects because you're not having that time wasting that happens at the beginning. You're not wasting half an hour trying to get into the zone. Like, you're already there. So I want for you to really get clear on how it is when you're outside of that whole pattern of procrastination. So you're outside of the maze. You're experiencing yourself free. You're really getting a sense of what it's like to be free of all of the habits of procrastination, that mental knot, the hard time that you give yourself. So you're on the outside and it's wonderful. Get clear about all of the ways that you're going to feel. Get clear about what it's like. You're working on your projects. You're taking action. You're doing the thing that you said that you were going to do. Then, when you've got really familiar about that moment just outside of the maze, you then work backwards. So the step before just being outside of that maze is the step that you take to start doing. So you're going to imagine, again, if we were in the maze, the moment when you can see the exit and you're just taking those few last steps of like, yay, I've managed to find my way. So you get a sense of what that feels like. The moment when you are stepping free, the moment that you are leaping into productivity and taking action. So you've got those final two steps, the step of being free and the step you have just before that occurs, the moment just before you pick up your pen and you start drawing, or the moment just before you open up your laptop, but you know it's going to happen because you can see the exit ahead of you. You know that it's irrefutable that you are going to start working in just a second. And so you then work back another step. So here's where you might not be able to see the exit ahead, but you know all I need to do now is take that right turn, and the exit is going to be visible just beyond that. So again, you're working your way back. You've now gone 3 steps. The exit isn't there, so you haven't necessarily got the project in your sights, but you know you're just going to finish off this one thing and then you're going to get to your project. So I want for you to work back several steps, and that's the way to see how you get clear of the maze of procrastination. So by working backwards, you're using your mind in a different way. You're no longer stuck in the maze, but you're on the outside finding your way back in. And what that then means is you find your way back in and you're able to connect to the version of you that's in the maze, but you've then connected with them to show them the way out. Rather than trying to figure it out here, this version of you doesn't know where the exit is, and so they're just stuck in this pattern of trying to get productive but not knowing how. So when we go at it backwards, honestly, like, it's so magical the way that it gets the brain to work. The brain loves solving problems, and so by starting from the outside and working your way back in, the brain is literally going to give you the map to free yourself from the maze of procrastination. And so suddenly we're using our brain to think ourselves more productive because we're thinking in a totally new way, but we're thinking from the solution rather than thinking from the problem. And when we think from the solution's already available to us. The final piece is simply to say, here's the solution and here's how to link the solution to me, so that when I start taking action now, it's going to create that solution. It's really heavenly, this process. Now, it does take some practice. So you might want to watch the video a couple of times, and also you might want to share in the comments, like, what experience did you have by imagining yourself on the other side of that maze of procrastination? What was it like to imagine yourself at that moment of getting the prize, or at that moment having just come out of the exit? Share in the comments below, because I love it. I love it when people share their unique, specific experience of being outside of this maze. So take a moment now and just jot down in the comments, what's it like when you imagine yourself on the outside of the maze and working your way back to gather yourself up and take yourself to that solution because you've thought about it differently. And if you find that you need additional support, if you find that it's going to be really useful for you to have some accountability as you work through your creative projects, as you really start to deepen this new way of relating to procrastination, then you might want to come and join the Write No Matter What community. You'll find a link below. It will give you all of the information about the community, why it's so amazing, why we would love to have you with us. And hopefully you will be tempted to come and join us and really make sure that your life, your career, your creativity, your work ethic are absolutely at the levels that you really want them to be. Wishing you an amazing week, wishing you a productive week, wishing you a free week, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday next week. Take care.